is your mother. Now listen to this. Once upon a time there was a wily wolf. That's me.
A wicked witch.
And a ginormous giant. These three villains earned their reputation in a selection of folk tales set in the dark woods, deep lakes, and enchanted castles. In this story, the villain is none other than the cunning wolf. Once upon a time, in the thick reeds at the edge of a pond, a mother duck sat patiently on her eggs. Come on, eggs, hatch, for goodness sake. She wanted to go out with her friend in the evenings, but since she was landed with all these eggs, she had no option but to keep them warm day and night. She might have shared work with her husband, but he had flown the nest only to be eaten by the local wolf.
Yum, yummy. There's poetic justice for you.
The wolf tried every trick he knew to get the mother duck, but the ground around her nest was too boggy. So that morning he watched from the bank as at long last the eggs started to hatch.
Oh, congratulations on the birth of my supper,
said the wolf as the eggs hatched. But one large egg in the middle of the nest refused to give up its contents. Oh, come on, said the duck. I'm due down at the disco.
Pardon me, but what you got there is a turkey egg. He'll be no use to you. He can't even swim.
So, you'd like him for Christmas?
I'll take him off your hands if he's getting in the way.
Well, he isn't, because he hasn't even hatched yet. The wolf sloped off to lick his metaphorical wounds.
And very tasty they were, too.
Finally, the big egg hatched. It certainly wasn't a turkey, nor was it a duck. It was just plain ugly. Ah! I should have given you to the wolf. Even his newborn brothers and sisters rejected him. The poor, ugly duckling was driven out by his family, so he set off down the stream until he reached some smart riverside properties. This was where the posh ducks lived. Fee-fi, fo-fum. Boating is such jolly fun. Where am I? Maidenhead. Now, push off. He thought it was because he was ugly, but actually they didn't want him marrying into their family, which happens a lot in places like Maidenhead. So on he went, until, tired out, he reached a strange, crooked cottage where a witch lived with her dog and cat. The exhausted bird flopped down on the steps at the old woman's feet. Where am I? Croaked the ugly duckling.
Aylesbury, croaked the ugly witch. "The perfect place for such as you."
The ugly duckling was amazed. At last he had been made welcome.
You're welcome as long as you lay eggs. The day you stop laying,
Then what?
the pot.
The witch, who was very fond of eggs, kept a hen in a cage in her kitchen. But the poor hen was so old and tired that try as she may, she just couldn't lay another egg. The witch had no time for hens that couldn't lay, as the hen knew only too well. The hen planned to fool the witch, who had poor eyesight and liked her eggs hard-boiled. "Psst! Hey you, go out in the yard and fetch me a nice egg-shaped stone. Otherwise, I'm for the pot." The ugly duckling, keen to help, hoped his act of kindness would earn him some brownie points. "The only kindness I'll show you," went on the chicken, inspecting her new stone egg, "is to tell you to get out of here as fast as your ugly legs will carry you. By the size of you, I'd say you were a drake." "A drake? What's that?" "A fella, a bloke."
A man.
"You're for the pot." Releasing the ugly duckling, who scrambled out of the cottage and escaped over the meadow to the river's edge. But he was so unhappy and exhausted, he just flopped on the water and the current carried him downstream. How long he drifted he didn't know, but when he woke up, he was surrounded by a family of handsome, gleaming white swans. He was scared they might attack him. "Where am I?" "Windsor," said one of the swans, "where you belong." "Me?" "Of course. Look at yourself in the water." And indeed, he looked just like them, a handsome young swan. The good news was that it didn't matter if you were born in a duck's nest, as long as you were a swan's egg. The bad news was that the king was having a banquet that night and fancied roast swan for the main course.
Oh, I'll get you one day, you'll see.
There's something funny going on. I think it must be the cannibals.